one of the things that COVID-19 has really brought is mental health issues, which have arisen out of isolation, loneliness, and that even the idea, like you said, that no visitation to patients who are at nursing homes or hospital. Actually, many studies have shown that when a patient, when he is seen by the rate, he gets better quickly. But now that with all this mental, how are you prepared for, as a new normal, that we are going to have people with this stress? I know this goes across the street, everybody has experience, pastors has experience on it. Dr. Kyogu, you have your own experience. So, Pastor, what do you say about mental issues you're seeing rising from COVID-19?
Well, thank you so much. I will give my own experience. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I have purposely taken a break from all work spiritual, just to, you know, because I was getting stressed. I was becoming itchy, emotional. But the reality is that as I interacted with the patients more and more and saw them suffer, came into contact with them face to face, it subconsciously affected me. And if I didn't take a break, I was going to break myself. So I can imagine, I can only imagine what the kids are going through at home, because they have been locked up for so long, and they have asked the wise, and nobody seems to be answering. They are also the elderly, our parents, who are living with us, who keep asking. Actually, somebody says, some mother was asking every single day whenever he comes home, the only question she is asking is like, she's like, will I die here and be buried here? You mean I am going to die here and be buried here? Oh. So you can imagine that kind of fear that these elderly folk are having. They just want the airport to be open. They can take the first plane home, go die there, rather than being, you know. So okay, those are indications that people are struggling mentally or psychologically, emotionally, because of COVID-19. Thirdly, we all need hugs when we are crying. Yeah. But imagine you lose a relative and you cry alone until you stop crying. Yeah. And nobody is coming to comfort you. That can be emotionally draining. I have had opportunity to go and visit some of these people who are bereaved. Of course, I call ahead. I tell them I want to meet you outside. So I want my seat to be, you know, under this shade in this, you know, and they do that. And for a moment, you see people looking blankly. They are like, Pastor, we don't know. We don't know. You ask a question and it's not even answered coherently because people are disturbed. You see like there's something they are missing. So COVID-19 has affected people emotionally. The sooner we get over it, the better for all of us.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Kyoga, what do you say about these mental health issues?
So one thing I can say about mental health, first of all, human beings are social beings.
Yeah.
And it is up to this pandemic that I've come to realize that somebody who came up with prisons was not a fool. They really did psychology and realized that once you enclose a human being in a certain way where they can't go outside, or even if they go outside, they can only see the sun. They don't know what developments are going on. They don't know what's going on. It doesn't matter how much internet you have surrounded, how much TV you watch. Even TV becomes a stress in itself. So some people have decided to even turn off the TV because there's no good news that is coming out of there. So at the end of the day, the mental, taking away that social aspect, and even as Pastor Likia said, even going to church is not just a church for spiritual. It's also a social place where you get your friends to give you a hug, share your experiences, get to tell people how your week was. And even if, let's say, you don't have a family member to go back to, you feel like you have a family in a church, you have a family in a barbecue, you have a family wherever you meet them. And as a result, this has led to a lot of challenges mentally, in that people have become even stressed. You know, leave alone that. There are people who get to relieve their mental issues by going shopping. Yeah. They just want to go buy clothes or buy something. That was also taken away from them. So you see, there's so many things. And let's not also forget that these people, they are family members who never used to meet. One is working one shift, another one is working another shift. Kids are gone half of the day. You get to see them in the evening for a few hours before you eat and go to bed. Now you're stuck all in the same house. That is a stress in itself, whereby people are getting on each other's way in terms of how they do things. And so it's the magnitude of mental health as far as COVID-19 is concerned is not something we can discuss in this segment for probably 30 minutes. It needs a whole segment where we only talk about mental health and what do we need going forward and how we need to reach out for counselors, especially in the African community where we don't believe that mental health is an issue. Now it has come to my attention, or it has come to me a full effect that it's an issue that affects both black and white. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter whether you're in Africa. It doesn't matter whether you're in the US. Wherever you are, this is a real thing. If you are taken, the social aspect of a human being is taken away. It's a big deal that we cannot just discuss in this segment and just finish because its magnitude is huge.
Okay, good. Joshua, you have something to add on mental health?
Before Joshua jumps in, I also wanted to say, when we began these Zoom meetings as a church forum way of preaching, the populations were there. But slowly you begin to realize that the population are dwindling. Even we who are giving service are also getting mental fatigue, or let me call it Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue. I had this morning my wife asking me, what are we going to do this Sabbath afternoon for the children? I said, tell them to go for a nature walk. This Sabbath afternoon, let them go. Nobody should open Zoom. Let people go and, do something else, because it's also tiring. That's what I wanted to add.
That's a good remedy, actually, Pastor. That's a good remedy, that we need to be creative even in nature. That's something very good. Joshua.
Yeah, so what I could say is a situation that has with us is a new normal. But I mean, like the healthcare centers where we are working at is creating those thinking outside of the box, finding other how you can utilize all the stuff that you have. For example, like if we have people do the activities, social services, utilizing those people, going around into their rooms and talking to them because they are missing their families. People are frustrated. I mean, I've heard where we have positive COVID patients, and when you keep them isolated, they fall, they become wild, they get anxious. But as soon as the healing process happens, they become normal, and then they share those stories like, I got crazy or I got wild because how can you guys lock me up? It feels like a punishment. They're not seeing their own loved ones. They're not, I mean, we have tried to create different scenarios where we're Skyping people, FaceTiming people, Duo, and all those facilities, where we are also even bringing in ACP, where they can Skype in and kind of try to evaluate and give us recommendations on how to help. That also applies to our own families, trying to collaborate, working with your families, and coordinating to see that you give people attention, you listen, and that's all it takes for people to, since they are missing that social aspect of life. I remember one of the speakers said, we are social animals. We don't realize how that was important when you can't see the people you are used to. It's very critical. It becomes like a disease. So it's very critical that we work and assimilate, jump into these programs and utilize them to maximize the benefits.
Yeah. I know, Bill, you are a very passionate person about mental health. I've had you give some training on that. So what can you advise us? How can we cope with this new normal with COVID-19 and the mental aspect of it?
Thank you very much for giving me a time again. I would say this, as Dr. Ukyoga said, we are a social being, number one. I will also add that we are also behavioral being, meaning the only criteria of being human is having a behavior, as one person said. So we have seen behavioral activities going on, either negative or positive. It's also a behavior. But 3 months into the COVID pandemic, as you might see, the world is in the verge of another crisis. That is that's what puts me out of sleep at night, and that is the combination of mental health and also anxiety, agitation, and depression, which we have seen coming. As Pastor Liki said, it is not only people that we have in facilities that are having these things. It is even everybody at home. We never used to be together for 24/7, even in our own homes. We have a lot of traumas coming out of us even being together. So we have started developing a behavior that never used to be there, which is going to be a new normal as we move on. So with such parallel changes coming so quickly on us, some of us have even forgotten how we slept before the pandemic, because if you are anxious, you are depressed, chances are that you are going to lose sleep. And once you lose sleep, one person said, you can survive if you don't eat for 40 days and 40 nights. But if you don't sleep for 40 days and 40 nights, you will die. So what is happening here forward is actually more than what we have right now. Because as we all know, sleep is a critical physical health and effective functioning of our immune system. And it also promotes our emotional wellness, which that's where now mental health comes in. So whether you had sleeping problems before COVID-19 and some are coming more recently, they all contribute into us having problems as it relates to being anxious. Because right now, why do people wear masks? Because we are anxious that we might encounter somebody who has the disease. And I've even seen, I was at Minard's this morning, and when you don't wear a mask and you are passing through somebody, they look at you in a very funny way. They think that you don't know what you're doing as it. So as far as mental health goes, we are going to see, or we have seen those things, it's affecting us in a way that was never before. I was reading on something where it said 3 months into this, whatever, the world is on the verge of a crisis. And that was an article that I read. And federal agencies and world experts warn that historic wave of mental health problem is approaching, which is more of depression, substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorders, and suicide. So at the end of the conversation, I might give Dr. Omandi, your viewers, what is it that we are supposed to do? We call it the 12 steps of a better sleep during COVID-19. So I will give those steps as at the end if that time allows. But it is a combination that is very, very, very very challenging as we move on with this.
Okay.